welcome to the December monthly member briefing. I'm Thomas Deere. I'm the Vice President of Sales Engagement at the Chamber, and I have the privilege of being your host. It's amazing that we've gone through another year of the monthly member briefing. We were just talking offline. We've had a phenomenal year with some incredible keynote speakers, some unbelievable member spotlights, great new information from the Chamber, great news from our cost savings partners. And I do want to give a big thank you to each of you for joining us today, and thank you for your partnership with the Chamber. These sessions are designed to provide you with information, solutions, and connections needed to keep your businesses thriving. Today, you have joined in listen-only mode with your microphones and cameras muted. However, this is very interactive, and we do encourage you to ask questions throughout the program using Zoom's chat box. I want to thank our media sponsor, for the Cincinnati Business Courier, for their support of our monthly member briefings. Without them, none of this would be possible. We have an outstanding lineup for you today, and I know you're going to enjoy it. It's my pleasure to welcome Brendan Cull, the president of the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber. Brendan?
Morning, everybody. How are you? Happy December. This is as Thomas said, this is our last monthly member briefing of the year. And I'm so glad to be here with you at home today because we had childcare drama. So back in the home office, which is unusual after this entire year. Let's face it, this is the rush of the end of the year can be a tough time for leaders. We're finishing our budgets, we're doing reviews, we're planning for 2023, and all the while we're attempting to enjoy the holiday spirit. So my hope for you is that you're getting all of your work done, but that you're taking time to enjoy all of the good parts that come with this year, even the tough parts. And stopping to look at the big picture, because these happy days in the holiday season, they do go quickly. A few things I want to get to before we introduce our Congressman-elect who is joining us today. You should know that the Fifth Third Bank Diversity Leadership Symposium is just around the corner on Wednesday, December the 14th, a week from yesterday. This event is a huge passion of our team at the Chamber. It's the vision of the incredible team at Fifth Third. Many of you know Stephanie Smith, the Chief Inclusion and Diversity Officer at Fifth Third. If you know her, she is a visionary and a corporate leader who believes in the power of inclusion, and her work has led to meaningful and positive change at the bank, but also in our community and communities across the country. This year's symposium will be excellent. Our keynote speaker this year is Michelle Mi-Jung Kim, who is a brilliant speaker who will talk about culture and inclusion with a talk that's based on her book called The Wake Up, Closing the Gap Between Good Intentions and Real Change. We had a chance to talk to her just yesterday as we prepped for a final prep call for the event. Her speech will be bold and thought-provoking. Later in the morning, you'll hear from Tim Spence, who's the chairman and CEO of Fifth Third, in his first speaking engagement at this event since taking over as chairman and CEO. We're going to have a panel about culture and inclusion in a post-pandemic workplace that is going to be led by Kevin Sansbury, who is a lead consultant for the Workforce Innovation Center, which is a project of the Cincinnati Chamber. And then we'll have 4 breakout sessions afterwards for participants to go deeper on various topics. It's an excellent morning and you should be there. So check our website and you can sign up to attend the Diversity Leadership Symposium next Wednesday from 8 to noon. Our last event of the year as a chamber, which is hard to believe, is the legislative reception, which is next Thursday at the Transept. Katie Egan, our Vice President of Government Affairs, is on the call today. I think she's talking a little bit later. This is a great event to meet elected officials and connect with them. So try to be there as well if that is in your world. And then as we look around the corner, it's unbelievable what we're talking about 2023. It's only a few weeks away. The thing I am most excited about since we were together last on Thanksgiving weekend, we have a tradition of announcing the Great Living Cincinnatians class. It's one of my favorite things that we do at the Chamber, where we inaugurate generally 4 new Great Living Cincinnatians each year. This year's class is tremendous. Don Kleekamp, C. Smith, Larry Shakely, and Janet Reed. I had the pleasure of working for Janet Reed. She was my first boss out of college, and this is an incredible class of individuals. Every time you go to this dinner, you hear life stories that will both inspire you and help you see how to live a life of leadership and service. So make sure that that is on your calendar. Check the Enquire's website. You can read some profiles of these great living Cincinnatians, but there's no substitute for being at the dinner where you'll see those incredible videos about them. Next I get to introduce our Congressman-elect, who is someone who is quite well known to all of you. But before I do, I just want to say, I want to thank Congressman Shabbat for his 30 years of service to our region. I had the opportunity to work with him, as many of you did, and he has been a reliable and steady outlet for our community when we needed him. So on behalf of the Chamber, I want to make sure that we say thank you to him. We wish him and his family well in retirement. So you all know that about a month ago, Greg Landsman was elected congressman as the congressman from the 1st Congressional District of Ohio, a district that now includes, this is a new district, the entire city of Cincinnati, all of Warren County, one of the fastest growing parts of our region, and much of the eastern portion of Hamilton County. Greg served 2 terms on Cincinnati City Council so far. He's been a leader in this community through his actions for more than 15 years. I know he is especially proud of his effort to pass the Preschool Promise, which is a model education initiative that is now studied and copied by cities all over the country. While on council, he helped lead the work to pass Issue 7, where we got to work very closely with him. That has dramatically expanded opportunity and access by providing transportation options to the people who live and work here. It was obviously a signature initiative of our organization, and Greg was a partner throughout the entire time, helping make sure that got done. But I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to just say that in the last 15 years, these are years that have been pivotal moments in my life. Greg and I have had the occasion to talk about everything from marriage and kids, politics, careers, history, the West Wing, and of course, Cincinnati. So you all know his fine work as an elected official, but I consider myself fortunate to be one of the ones who gets to vouch for him as both a human being and as a friend. And so I can attest that Greg is going to do a fine job representing all of us. And we are so looking forward to working with him on issues from the Brent Spence Bridge, the Western Hills Viaduct, to creating jobs, to growing minority businesses, and to making our region a vibrant economy for all. So it's a great honor for me to introduce to you Congressman-elect Greg Landsman.
Well, thank you, Brendan. That was very nice. It's good to be with all of you. I wish I could be there in person, but we'll have plenty of time to connect. But let me just start by thanking the Chamber for all of its work. Thank you all for participating and making the work, as successful as it's been. We have one of the best chambers in the country, and that's in large part because of all of you. I'll say just a quick note on Brendan. He is an exceptional leader, as you all know, but also one of my closest friends. And this has been a really wonderful experience, in part because I've got to do it, with some of, these amazing people in my life. I mean, Brendan is, I'm the godfather of his firstborn, which is one of the the most significant privileges of my life. And he's just an exceptional leader, and I just admire him so much. So I just wanted to return the favor and say thank you to him for everything he's done for me. Okay, so it's wonderful to be in this position, to be what I hope will be an incredibly reliable federal partner for all of you. I ran for a whole host of reasons, which we can get into, but always had a vision for how I wanted to serve, and it's in large part aligned with what I've done to date, right? So, we want to be in office, and I want to be a leader that's very inclusive, that brings together, as I've done in the past, business leaders and labor and community to get big things done. So we did it with preschool, we did it on the transit levy, and there's we're going to do it with this bridge. We're working on housing together and how we build a comprehensive housing plan, and make sure that, if you live in the region, you work in the region, you can live in the region. So all of that we do together. And when these big coalitions come together, they get big things done, and they just take the region, up, and up. So, that's a big part of what you all should expect from me. That being very inclusive, building these coalitions. We will be very serious about casework. So send all the constituent folks who are in need of help, whether it's a Social Security issue, a Medicare issue, a veterans health care issue. It doesn't matter. You said, we want to be the place to go, and we're staffing up accordingly, looking for really good people who are service oriented and who care about folks and who are really good at solving problems. We also want to be the place where you all go for help if there's a snag, in whatever you're doing with the administration. If there's language that we all agree needs to get put into a bill, we want to be that reliable partner. So, and not somebody that you have to go track down, but somebody who's here working on these issues with you. So while I obviously plan to be in DC to vote and to do the committee work and to be part of all of that congressional stuff, I'm going to be home, I suspect, more often than I'm in DC, and not just in the district, but working with all of you and others. So that's the way I've envisioned this, is to have this role, since it's the first time the city of Cincinnati has been put in one congressional district. It's it's our southwestern Ohio district. This is yours, and we want to be a vehicle for you to get things done. So I am very passionate, as many of you know, about children, about families. I'm going to try to get on education and labor, to continue to work on things that I believe are critical to growing a really robust economy, and helping children and families, so that this is a place that people want to be, from prenatal care to child care to preschool to higher education, good career training, good paying jobs. But I will also try to get on small business. My predecessor was on small business. I think that's really important, especially for all of you, to have somebody who's in there championing your work, getting things done for all of you. So small business, and then transportation and infrastructure, as Brendan mentioned, and I did too, worked really closely with you all, and that big coalition to get what was an historic investment in public transit and infrastructure done. I cared deeply about that. So those are the three committees I'll try to get on. And the way it works is I submit a letter, I make my case, and leadership decides. So fingers crossed. We'll have staff hired and ready in the next couple of weeks. We'll make some announcements next week on staff, so that you all know exactly who's who, and who to call. Although, and I'll end here, you can always call me. That's how I've always approached public service. I don't want that to change. I'll put my email and cell phone in the chat. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I know it's a cliche and people say it. Sometimes they mean it, sometimes they don't. I do. I absolutely work for you. So whatever you need, I'm now here in this capacity to help. So thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Let's do some Q&A because we have a little bit of time and I want to make sure that we have an opportunity for folks to ask you some questions. I appreciate you kicking it off, but I know people like to be able to ask their representatives questions. But let me just start. You kind of outlined a few particular issues. Have you begun to think about how you will work when you are there on issues like the Brent Spence Bridge and the Western Hills Viaduct? We know that they're going to be really important infrastructure projects over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah, and so on the the Brent Spence Bridge, it is being part of this team that's working here locally. I'll be part of that. We'll have a staff person assigned to that team. So again, you don't have to track us down. We're in the meeting, right? That I think is very important to us. So we know exactly what's needed, whether it is communicating with the administration or other members of Congress on specific needs, helping to finalize the design work and all of the other things that need to get done, but then securing the funding and making sure that the financing all lines up, whether it's federal grant money, state, we want to make sure that we're a very, very, very significant part of that process. And that, bad pun, that bridge to the administration and sources of funding. On the Western Hills Viaduct, I mean, we're so close to being fully funded. And so it is a matter of just sort of standing by and waiting to hear what it is we need. I mean, we broke ground, we're ready to go. We passed, something out of council yesterday, which gets us almost to the finish line in terms of this thing being fully funded. Again, that's reinforcing the goal of being here in the meetings, as opposed to just sort of hanging out, waiting in the wings to say, okay, what do you all need? So that's the plan on those.
Let me ask one more question, then I'll open it up. And for folks who want to ask questions, you can drop questions in the chat or there's I think a Q&A section. I see one question coming in so far. Greg, you've had a history in this community, though you've been in the majority on Cincinnati City Council. I've seen you reach out and find partnerships with folks from what is your other side of the aisle, building bipartisan relationships with others. That will be, I guess, increasingly important to you, as we know that the House is controlled by the Republican Party in DC, and so with divided government. Tell me a little bit about, are there individuals that you've started to connect with where you might be able to find opportunities to work together and accomplish your goals?
Yeah, great question. So I've been thinking a lot about this. I think whether you're in the majority or the minority, I think it's really important, and you all know this from the work that you do and the businesses you run. It's you start with, okay, what are the 3 or 4 big things you want to get done, and that helps you find the folks that are gonna that you need to be working with to get those things done. I am very passionate about the child tax credit and getting that back on the books so that families can pay bills, all of their bills, and so the child tax credit, I believe, will have bipartisan support, and so whether it happens in the lame duck or we're able to build a coalition of folks who want to see this get done. I think most people support it because it has been so effective in helping folks pay bills, and the more they're able to buy stuff, the better our businesses do, and our economy does. So that's a big one, and seeking out those folks on both sides of the aisle that are really committed to fixing the economy, dealing with inflation, helping people pay their bills, and or folks that are really engaged already in the child tax credit. So that's one. 2 is public safety. We still have serious public safety issues, and particularly around gun violence. So finding that bipartisan majority who understand that, hey, the American Recovery Act helped us pay for police and fire all over the country. And here in Southwest Ohio, it's going to run out in 2 years. What is the game plan to make sure that communities have the resources they need to hire the police officers and the firefighters? And what are those common sense efforts to empower law enforcement to get these guns out of our communities? So that's a big piece of it. There's a whole host of others, but those are two big ones. And so I'm starting to identify folks who really care about those issues and meeting first and foremost with the local delegation. So I had a great meetup with Congressman Shabbat to get his sense of who are those folks. And if he can help me make some connections, I'll be with Congressman Brad Winstrup next week. I'm in Boston tonight and tomorrow with all of the Republicans and Democrats who are coming in. And the staff has done a nice job identifying those folks who have identified those folks who are going to be there in Boston, Republicans who have said, hey, these are big issues I want to work on. And so I get to say, okay, hey, I want to work on those with you. And you start building coalitions from there.
That's great. Benjamin McCall had a question in the chat. And remember, you can put questions in the Q&A down at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you're interested in asking a question. We have a few more minutes. He says, what are the little similar tweak on that question, but what are some of the issues that you think will be most challenging to accomplish given the current climate?
Yeah, I mean, the big ones that I think are critical to everything we do, certainly, our collective work and building, a really great local economy is all of the protecting and strengthening our democracy, and codifying Roe. And I understand that that's controversial for many, or it's a very emotional thing for many people. I get that. I'm going to pull back on this and just talk about it from an economics issue and from a talent attraction standpoint. If we don't codify Roe, which is going to be very difficult in this Congress, very unlikely, and that there's an effort to make it harder to pass a ballot measure in Ohio. Ohio becomes one of the states that you don't have all of the freedoms that you have in other states. And so I worry, and I think we're going to start to see people leave to go to states where they can raise their children, where they're fully free. Folks are going to pick colleges in states where they're fully free, and I think businesses are going to start to see and feel, hey, if we want to invest and get talent, this whole talent issue is already a big issue, and so that's going to be one of the biggest challenges in this new Congress, is trying to protect the people that we serve, I serve, but also protect this economy and your talent pool by making sure that folks are fully free.
Thanks, Greg. And Benjamin, thanks for the question. Brandon Rudd, who's the director of the Chamber Center for Research and Data, asks about the low-income housing tax credit, which I think you're familiar with, but points out that this tax credit is extremely important to the Chamber's housing work and affordability in the Cincinnati region, that the Biden administration and several lawmakers, including Brad Wenstrup, our congressman from the 2nd District, have wanted to know if you would support that tool as well.
Yeah, very much support it, and would like to see us expand the federal role and providing the additional supports for our housing strategy, right? So there's a whole host of other things that hopefully we'll be able to get done that allow us to do what we're envisioning here from a housing strategy standpoint. So yes, a huge supporter. It's been it's been one of the most significant tools to date for us. Before we had this housing, I call it the Housing for Everyone Fund, which is, approaching $100 million. Having that tax credit has enabled us to build a lot of affordable housing. And, you can imagine a scenario where we expand it to do, so that, we have more access, that we're, everyone's getting more of these tax credits and we're able to do more of these projects. But it also subsidizes housing production along that sort of income continuum.
Thanks for that. I'll also point out, we were talking a little bit earlier about transportation infrastructure, and I appreciate your willingness to be connected to help connect us to the administration in even better ways. Obviously, we know that Secretary Buttigieg has been deeply involved in the conversation about the Western Hills Viaduct and about the Brent Spence Bridge, but ongoing big infrastructure projects in our region, including things like CAPS over Fort Washington Way, reconnecting communities, which has been a key work and conversation in the West End in particular. The Chamber's been leading some work led by Pete Metz, who runs our Connected Region project, with a consulting firm to help our region, not just the city, but our region, look at what are the big infrastructure projects that are coming online in the next few years that we should be working on. And about the Crown Bike Trail, but we talk about CAPS over Fort Washington Way. There's some things in Northern Kentucky, which is very much key to our overall region's economy. And then some projects in Warren County and Butler County as well that make sense. We'll share those with you because we think that they will be, really important to make sure that we get on the radar. One of the things that we've felt for a long time is the Brent Spence Bridge has been the most urgent and biggest priority, that it is in some ways sucked the oxygen out of the room for a lot of other projects. So we want to make sure that we have a full pipeline of things to communicate to the administration about. So would appreciate you being connected on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And then I would add, because, these get lost too in the big picture, but they're so critically important. And, we worked on them at City Hall, and I know this is something that everyone's dealing with. It's also retaining walls. It's our sewer infrastructure, our water infrastructure, it's roads, but there are all of these this really, really significant pieces of infrastructure that allow us to do what we do every day that we don't think about, but when they break, it sometimes can be catastrophic. And so this is a huge opportunity to do what we haven't been able to do in 80 years, which is protect, strengthen, rebuild that infrastructure. And again, it's not a big thing, but a retaining wall that crumbles becomes a big thing, right? So all of those things.
Last question, and then I'm gonna Pam's question will actually be the last one, but one more question of note, and then Pam's is a great way to transition us back. But you spent a ton of time in Warren County, and I teed that off in our introduction as one of the fastest growing areas in our region, a huge area of growth, both from jobs and housing perspective. An important linkage. We've been talking a lot about Cincinnati and Dayton as a mega region, especially, but Warren County is a big piece of that. Just curious about you haven't represented that area before, but spent a lot of time there. Curious about observations and interests and things that you think are important to Warren County.
Yeah, I mean, so I really love, I love the whole district. I mean, I really do think this is the best district in the country because it has the greatest city in America. And then it's got the suburbs, and then it's got Warren, which has, cities and the rural, and rural community. So, it's so representative of the country. And if you haven't spent time in Warren, it's one of the most beautiful, some of the most beautiful places in the region. And I grew up in a small town. I'm from Oxford, so I'm a townie. And, there are, these small towns in, Springboro, for example, makes me feel like I'm home. There's not a big university there, but they're just, it's such a wonderful place. So I'm learning. It's in Cincinnati. I know a little bit more about, I know a lot more about what's happening on the ground because I've been at City Hall for the last 5 years. So I'm doing a whole host of meetings with elected officials and business leaders. And if you all have suggestions as to who needs to be on that list of folks, I mean, we're doing a whole tour of the district to sit down and start to make a list of all of the things that people are working on so that we can be that good partner. So if you have names of elected officials, we spent a lot of time with trustees and commissioners and folks like that. But if there are business leaders that you really think, hey, they would love to tell you what they're working on, we'll put them on the list and go meet with them.
Thank you for that. And we will 100% take you up on that and appreciate it. We have somebody who talks in our chat. I want to make sure I flag it. The conversation about minority-owned businesses is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Our Minority Business Accelerator works really closely with the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce and the Urban League. That is something that we've spent a ton of time on. We have some exciting news coming out of the Minority Business Accelerator very soon. But one of the distinguishing pieces of our region is our growth in minority-owned businesses. I mentioned earlier the Diversity Leadership Symposium. Brandon Rudd is going to release some data about how we are doing as a region when it comes to various diversity and inclusion indexes and measures. One of the areas where we do quite well is our growth in minority-owned businesses. And so we want to continue to strengthen that. And I appreciate the attendee who flagged that in the chat. Last thing, I'll send us out on this. Greg, thank you so much. Pamela asks, for what forums and channels can we plan on accessing for updates on your efforts and work?
Great question. Thank you for that. One is we'll do a bunch of town halls. I love town halls. And they'll be in the district, they'll be live, they'll be in person. So we'll try to do them all over. If you want to do a forum, broadly or specifically on an issue, just let's go. Those are my favorite things to do. So a lot of town halls and we'll have a newsletter, obviously, but I have been trying to build out. So on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been trying to post everything that we're working on or doing so that you get a sense as to, okay, what does this transition look like? What committees am I trying to get on? So, follow me. It's just, I don't know, go to Instagram and type in Greg Landsman. I don't know how it works. I think it's just Greg Landsman at Greg Landsman. Anyways, on Instagram, and the stories, you can follow along. I'm not personally on Twitter. Like, I just think it's bad for me to see all the stuff that's on Twitter, but my good friend Brendan is on Twitter and he shares the, good content but in any event, you'll see me on Twitter because, somebody tweets out and that's one place, but Instagram is where I've been trying to make sure that everyone is part of this journey. So follow along if you want. But I believe really strongly in town halls, big and small. So you'll see a lot of those.
That's great. Maybe you can teach me how to do both Instagram and to quit Twitter, because that would be a very good New Year's resolution, I think, for all of us.
Like your happy index, you're a very happy person, but I will tell you that Instagram is where to go to get to feel good and joy. And then Twitter's I think the opposite.
Yeah, that's probably true. Greg, Congressman-elect, thank you so much for spending the morning with us. This has been really terrific. I'm excited to see you in this role. It's great to connect you with our members. We will continue to do that. Folks who are here listening, please know that you can reach out to us anytime. Katie Egan, who leads our government affairs team, will be closely connected with the congressman and his team. And so we're happy to help represent you as you want to make sure that you're connected. But as Greg said and put his email and cell in the chat, you can reach out to him directly. So Congressman-elect, thank you so much. Have a great morning. Happy holidays. And I'm going to turn it back to Thomas Deere.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. As long as we keep you both off TikTok, I think we're in good shape. Congressman-elect, we're excited.
No way.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Never going
We're
to happen.
excited, Congressman-elect, for your energy, your leadership, and being our voice. And again, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
It's my pleasure to introduce two chamber members who've been making an impact in the region. First up is Nick Ashcraft, the president of All Dry Services. After an emergency, a disaster, or an accident, you need someone you can trust to clean up and restore everything to its original glory. All Dry Service is your answer. What's more, they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And what I find is a huge plus is they'll manage your insurance claim by working directly with your provider. I sure hope I have that right, Nick, because I don't want to be, I'm teasing. That is a huge plus. At All Dry, they expect the unexpected. Nick, welcome, and let me ask you a couple questions about All Dry Services. First, after a water leak or a flood, how long, Nick, do I have before that dreaded ugly word mold starts to grow?
That's a great question, Tom, and one I get a lot. You have typically 24 to 48 hours to get things started drying before mold starts to form. So one of the first things you do is, even if you call your adjuster, they're going to say, get someone out there, get them out there now, because once mold starts, the price to clean it up, the effort to clean it up starts multiplying. It just takes so much more. If we can get in there quick, start drying it, prevent mold. Again, it's critical. The first 24 to 48 hours, get it in under that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, if I'm at home, should I use bleach? Or if I'm in my business, should I use bleach if I find mold?
That's what a lot of people go to right away, is they say, well, I'll just spray some bleach on it. And bleach is typically not the right thing to do. The CDC and everybody actually recommends against it now, because bleach on a hard surface, a non-porous surface, will kill mold, but it takes time. It starts killing immediately, but it takes at least a 10 to 15 minute dwell time. So you've got to let it sit and stay wet in the bleach 10 to 15 minutes. And the active ingredients in bleach, particularly the chlorine bleaches, dry up and evaporate in that time. And what you have left, particularly in porous situations, you don't want to use it, because what's left over is water. And mold, like any kind of a plant, has roots. The water left over from the bleach feeds the roots, and it comes back worse than before. Bleach doesn't penetrate the pores. So what you're doing is feeding it. You're giving it lunch, and you're allowing it to grow. You don't want to do that. I think it's my mission in life to tell people bleach is typically not the way to go.
Interesting. I didn't even think mold would have a root. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I confess, I grew up on a farm in northern Minnesota, and I remember a time we had mold and we used vinegar.
Yeah.
Tell me about, did I blow it? Did we blow it there or what?
No, well, actually, you didn't, but vinegar is more difficult to use because it has what these things we use to treat things like mold have a dwell time. So that's the amount of time you have to keep it wet. Vinegar has at least a 1 hour dwell time. So you've got to keep it wet with vinegar for at least an hour for it to be effective. And it's not effective against all types of mold. So a lot of people use that as their go-to, but they think they can just kind of pour some on, wipe it away, let it go. Everything's good. It doesn't work that way, and it stinks. So that's an hour of smelling the potent fumes of vinegar in your face. But it does work over time, but you've got to give it time. The same thing with bleach on a hard surface. There's a 15 to 20 minute dwell time for bleach, even on a hard surface. So you've got bleach fumes coming up that whole time. And as professionals, there are other things we use that have a 10-second dwell time or a 10-minute dwell time, depending on what we're using. And they smell a whole lot better. So there are many better things out there.
Well, Nick, let me ask you one last question. What makes All Dry Services different from the other remediation companies that are out there? Tell us what separates you guys.
That's a fantastic question, and one that that our corporation takes to heart, very, very seriously take it to heart. We aren't like the big box companies out there that they have, you know, minimum size projects, because they come out there and they look at dollar signs and they see the return, and we want to be successful as a business. But when we come out there, we see people, we see the problem, and a water intrusion is catastrophic. Make no mistake about that. Those of us that have lived through those kinds of things know they're very catastrophic. They can upend your life. You're losing things that mementos that you can't get back, that are destroyed when things like these happen. We see that and we help guide you through that. Our business model is built around seeing the human and taking care of the human through a catastrophic event. And that is our goal. That's our mission in life, is to help you through that. So we that's what differentiates everything. You're going to get white glove treatment. You're going to get respect, yourself and your property, and you're going to get that helping hand that you need to get through the trouble areas.
Nick, that's impressive. And I think we've all come across mold or services that All Dry could help us with. And I encourage you all to reach out to Nick. Nick, if you could share your information in the chat
I sure will.
box, that would be fantastic. Nick, thank you for your time today. And thank you and All Dry Services for expecting the unexpected. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Well done. Next up is the dynamic team of Veronica Anderson McMichael and Rodney Anderson. This brother-sister duo are co-owners of Anderson's New York City Deli. Born and raised in New York City, Rodney and Veronica are beyond familiar with the New York deli experience. For them, it was a way of life. They wanted to create an authentic New York-style deli, so this talented sibling duo did what came naturally. They created Anderson's New York City Deli, bringing a taste of New York to Cincinnati and to the region. Welcome, Veronica and Rodney. Tell us more.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. Good morning.
Good. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I give thanks to all you wonderful people there at the Chamber. Cincinnati has been truly different for me because we've grown to learn the feelings of a smaller city that feels just like you're back at home. So I appreciate you all for all the welcoming love and support that you've given to us and our families.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. It seems like I'm going in and out.
We hear you perfect.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just want to echo what Rodney said. Cincinnati has been a familiar. It's been so familiar. It seems like we're at home.
That's fantastic. Tell us more. I know you have a few slides here. Walk us through these slides. Tell us more about the Anderson's New York City Deli. I've been there, and trust me, the people on the call, you're not going to be disappointed, but tell us more.
Well, one of the things that we bought from home is that we use all natural products, less fillers. You know, a lot of delis put 35 to 40% fillers. We have less than 3% fillers in our meats, and we try to cook everything as fresh as possible. We do a host of things. We do catering as well as a normal day-to-day deli, but we're so much more than just the normal deli. By being a different segment of New York, in New York, there's so many diverse places in New York. So we have everything from the Jewish deli to the Italian deli to the bodegas. And then we also have the African-American side of delis. And so what we've done is taken the best of all of them, and we've created Anderson's New York City Deli. So we do crossover into a whole lot of host of different foods. Some of the names that we would generally call out is like Geeky Gullah, which is, traditional old Southern cooking that we will use in processing meat and bringing it to the table. But basically, we are really farm to table as close as we can get.
Now, you said you have 2 locations. Tell us a little bit about the downtown, the Kenwood location.
Okay, the Kenwood location serves as our express location. The menu is a little bit less than the downtown location. The Kenwood location is the initial location that we started with. It opens its doors at like 10:30, and it generally closes between 8 and 9 o'clock at night. And the downtown location opens its doors at 7 o'clock, and it closes at 5 o'clock.
So if I'm having a holiday party or gathering, this is the perfect spot to get, or perfect place for to get catering, correct?
Yes, we can either host it here inside the store downtown, or we could either bring the foods to your location. Downtown is always available during non-working hours for catering events.
Excellent.
Also, Rodney, don't forget to share the daily specials downtown, where we actually have meals like baked chicken, corned beef, the
Barbecue.
Each day.
We have, today is pasta day. We have on Mondays, we do prime rib, and we actually make the prime rib ourselves in the store. And we do every bit of the process and cook it, and we put it on to a wonderful sandwich.
That's terrific. And as I said earlier, trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. Rodney, Veronica, thank you so much for bringing a taste of New York to the Cincinnati region. And I encourage everybody on the call, get out there, check them out. It is truly a treat. Thank you.
All right.
Me too. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yes.
I want to thank these members for being part of our monthly member briefing. And if you are interested in being part of a member spotlight, please reach out to me at tdeer, that's with 3 E's, at CincinnatiChamber.com. The Cincinnati Regional Chamber is a total of 9 benefit partners that enhance your business on an everyday basis. For our partner today, I'm so excited to have Monica Colbert. She reminded me this is the 1-year anniversary of the last time she presented. The consumer engagement professional from Humana, who is our health insurance partner. Humana is a strong legacy partner, and they provide competitive medical, dental, vision, life, and wellness products to our members through Chamber Health. Humana strives to be the leading health and well-being company focused on making it easy for people to achieve their best health through a coordinated care approach. Members located in Ohio can save up to 20% on health insurance with Chamber Health and Humana's Go 365 Health and Wellness Program. Monica, welcome, and tell us more about Humana.
Thank you, Thomas, and I really appreciate the Chamber giving me another opportunity to speak for a few minutes about the season and how we can all stress less this season. All of the information that I'm going to provide comes from Humana's Employee Assistance Program partner, LifeWorks. December is a month like no other, and it can be full of joy and celebrations and magic, but it can also be full of stress and busyness and really difficult situations. So let's talk first about some of the challenges that you may be facing this month. First are unrealistic expectations. We've seen the movies and pictures and posts about the perfect holiday where the whole family gathers and coordinating clothes. They sit around a beautifully decorated tree, opening gifts and drinking in hot chocolate. But let's be honest, that's not how the holidays go for most of us. And it sets the standard so high, we can feel less than if we don't attain that. Overspending. We are surrounded by ads and messages that tell us our loved ones will know exactly how much we care about them if we spend a lot of money on just the right gift. Traveling can be stressful when we're trying to be everywhere at once and visit each and every relative and friend that we have. Scheduling can become a nightmare when you attempt to coordinate your availability with everyone else's and be at the exact same place at the exact same time. And part of what makes the holidays special is spending time with your family, right? But what if you can't be with your family? Or if too much time with your family is just plain too much? Everyday life and everyday stress don't just stop in December. This can make job stress or work and family difficulties even harder to manage. So what can we do to help keep the magic and lose the stress? First, let's try to keep it simple. Slow things down a little and allow more space for good tidings and cheer. Here are some suggestions. Take some time to think about the needs of you and your family. Instead of doing all the things that you automatically do every year, consider saying no to some of them and put your family first. Ask for help when you need it. If no one's volunteering, take charge and delegate some of those tasks. Actively focus on seeing things in a positive light. Try to note the beauty of the decorations and appreciate the effort that other people are making. Try not to dwell on the challenges. And be realistic. Know that the perfect holiday may not exist, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the season. And make some time to help others. You might be surprised at how much joy serving others brings to you. In many circumstances, moderation is key, and this includes food and drinks and even activities. Maybe try something new and draw names instead of purchasing a gift for each person. It allows you a little more time to choose a personalized gift, and it will save you money. And lastly, don't underestimate the power of a handwritten note. When's the last time that you received one, and how did that make you feel? Why not pass that feeling along? And let's talk a little bit more about minding your money so that you don't have a regret when you look at your finances in January. Don't let Santa be the only one who makes a list and checks it twice. On your list, include everyone you would like to buy a gift for, and then check it twice. Is there anyone that you could maybe send a card with a note attached in place of a gift? Once you've finalized your list, set a price limit for each one. Talk to your family and friends and set expectations about gift giving. Consider giving family gifts or doing a white elephant exchange to keep the fun, but to cut the cost. And be sure to add up your expected expenses and include travel, entertainment, and decoration so there's no surprises. And finally, track your credit card use. It's easy to pay with plastic, but then forget about it until the bill arrives. Traditions are rituals that have a special meaning, and they really give us a cohesive way to celebrate together. They helped connect us from generation to generation, and they teach us values, and they create precious memories. But sometimes the pressure of these traditions outweigh the pleasure of the memories. So think about what you're doing already that makes the holidays meaningful. Have a discussion with your family about what's special to them, and then focus on those things, and don't be afraid to try a few new things that might become beloved traditions. Try taking a nature walk or organize a winter sports outing, support a food or toy or clothing drive, go to a free concert, light candles, read a holiday story together, or even donate to an animal shelter. I hope the holidays are a very special time for you, and you find and spread peace, joy, and love. If you'd like to listen to this last presentation again, or pass it along to your employees, please scan this QR code. Open your phone app and to your camera, hold the device near the QR code, and then tap the notification when it appears. And this will link you right to the presentation. I'm also going to put the URL address in the chat. So thank you all for having me today.
Monica, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's so timely. And this awesome presentation is a small sampling of all the great info that Humana provides to you as a partner. And for more information, not just on the presentation, but on Humana, I encourage you to reach out to Monica with her information in the chat box. Thank you so much, Monica and Humana, for your partnership. We look forward to growing with you into 2023 and beyond. Thank you. Joining us now is our very own Katie Egan, the Vice President of Government Affairs. The Chamber's Government Affairs teams develops and advocates for innovative and smart policies related to economic development, transportation, and inclusion. They're so good at engaging with community leaders and policymakers on government issues and policies that truly affect our region and your business. Katie, I know there's been an astronomical amount of work that's gone on in your world in the last couple months. Catch us up on all things government affairs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Thomas. I'm here today actually to talk about our leadership exchange trip that took place during the last week of October. And this leadership exchange was a very special one because we brought together the Cincinnati Regional Chamber and the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce as we continue to build a Cincinnati-Dayton mindset in the corridor that stretches from CVG to Wright Pat, with an eye to really being a key economic driver by combining our strengths to be a key economic driver in the state of Ohio. And building on the success of our past leadership exchange trips to aspirational cities like Toronto and Minneapolis and other cities around the country, this year we led a delegation of business and community leaders from Cincinnati and Dayton to Dallas-Fort Worth with a focus on regionalism, regional collaboration, and also some regional competitiveness. We focused on job and talent attraction, leveraging cultural assets, the DFW's Metroplex and their competitiveness with Houston and Austin, their competitiveness with Chicago and California, economic development strengths, and the power of DFW Airport, which is certainly something we know about in the Cincinnati region. We build often on the strength of CVG. And we heard from former mayors, community leaders from throughout the region. We were able to see a cattle drive at the Fort Worth stockyards and throw around the pigskin at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. We visited American Airlines' brand new headquarters. And probably most impactfully for the Cincinnati attendees, that we visited a park. It's called Clyde Warren Park. If you've heard any chatter about the project to cap Fort Washington Way in the corridor that leads from the stadium and the banks into the central business district, and you had some questions about what that might look like, Clyde Warren Park in the heart of downtown Dallas is a park that has been capped. It's built right on top of the highway. And that region of downtown Dallas has seen phenomenal economic development, high-rise apartment buildings, new office towers, restaurants, weekend entertainment venues. Their economic impact and their return on investment for keeping that green space, that park, has been astronomical. And it was a really great opportunity to get to experience something like that for ourselves as we talk about putting a plan like that into action here in Cincinnati. And the beauty of these leadership exchanges is bringing these lessons home to our region and putting them to work here in Cincinnati. We'll continue to work closely with our friends in the Dayton region to build this Dayton-Cincinnati mindset and allow Southwest Ohio to be the true economic engine of Ohio. Along with the leadership exchange trip, as Thomas mentioned, it's been a very busy time for government affairs. We hosted a debate between now Congressman-elect Greg Landsman, who we heard from earlier today, and Congressman Steve Shabbat. That was held in the middle of October. It was the last debate of the election for the 1st Congressional District. Right now it's lame duck in the Ohio State House. So we are back and forth from Columbus watching legislation get passed and move through committee just before the General Assembly changes at the end of the year. So we've had our eye on a lot. We continue to have our eye on a lot. And we enjoy hearing from our members about issues of importance to you as we build our advocacy strategy for 2023. Thanks, Thomas.
Wow, thank you, Kay, for all you and your team does to advocate for businesses in the region. Well done. And you guys sure, this is a well-deserved break here at the end of the year because you guys have been going 100 miles an hour. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do want to plug a couple of upcoming events that I do want you to know about. We do have we're kicking off Cincy Blend Coffees and Connections in Bromwell's Health Room on January 18th. If you weren't there, we had roughly 100 people there yesterday. It was a great place to connect, exchange business cards, and get to know about one another's business. January 24th, We Speak Women in Medicine, Redefining the Health Journey will be held at the Cincinnati Chamber. You're not going to want to miss that. And of course, we have one of our signature event, March 2nd, the annual dinner, the Legacy and Promise. Brendan touched on that a little bit earlier, where we honor the greatest living Cincinnatians, and that's so exciting. But coming up in the next few days, we have our Diversity Leadership Symposium, and I do encourage you to attend. If you've been to the symposium in the past, you know you're in for an enlightening experience. And for those that haven't been, treat yourself, treat your team, treat your business, attend. It's at the Duke Energy Convention Center. I think it's going to be, I think you're going to find it very beneficial. And finally, help us ring in the new year on January 12th for our next monthly member briefing. Again, that's January 12th. It's not the first Thursday of the month. There's a couple months that we go to the second week. And to learn more and to register for any of these events, please go to cincinnatiChamber.com/events. And again, thank you for a fabulous year. Thank you to our sponsor at the Business Courier, and happy holidays from all of us at the Chamber. Take care.
Down the chimney.